Believe it or not, when a woman goes silent, it's not just silence, it's a message in disguise. Maybe you found yourself in that situation. You send her a text, she sees it, or maybe doesn't even open it, and hours slowly turn into days. In your mind, it begins to run laps. Did I mess something up? Was I too forward? Has she lost interest entirely? The uncertainty doesn't just linger, it quietly gnaws at you every time you glance at your phone. And trust me, I understand. That ache from not knowing, it's brutal. But here's what most people miss. What if I told you that her silence actually carries more weight than her words ever could? That in her not reaching out, in her absence of texts and calls, she's communicating something, not just about herself, but about you too. In this video, we're not going to throw around the same tired dating cliches like just be chill or wait it out. No, we're going further. We're going to break down exactly what her silence really means, not just on the surface, but through the lenses of psychology, emotion, even spirituality. We'll analyze it using Stoic philosophy, insights from modern psychology, and patterns in real-world behavior. And even more importantly, we'll get into how you should respond, not simply react. By the time we're done, you won't just feel less confused, you'll feel like you're back in control. Because once you truly grasp the meaning behind silence, you stop chasing noise. Ready to dive in? Let's go. Number 1, silence isn't always a negative sign. Here's where most guys immediately go wrong. They assume that silence automatically equals rejection. If she's not texting back, then she must be over it, right? Not necessarily. In reality, a lot of the time, her silence isn't even about you at all. It's about what she's currently experiencing. She might be emotionally drained, mentally overwhelmed, processing personal issues, or simply taking space in a way that feels completely natural to her. Women, generally speaking, tend to communicate in waves, not at rigid, predictable intervals. It's not rare for them to go quiet when they're dealing with stress, feeling uncertain about their emotions, or even when they really like someone and fear coming across too strong. In a world where instant replies and instant validation are the norm, relationships, especially those just beginning, don't always follow that instant rhythm. There's also a deeper psychological aspect to consider. Studies on gendered communication, such as those by linguist Deborah Tannen, suggest that while men often treat communication as transactional, women typically view it as relational. So when she pulls away or doesn't respond, it might be more about her lacking the emotional bandwidth in that moment than a sign she's ghosting or losing interest. But because most men are conditioned to see silence as rejection, it triggers anxiety. That anxiety then fuels behavior that ends up sabotaging the attraction, sending too many texts, chasing her, trying to fix something that wasn't broken. So instead of assuming the worst, pause. Her silence isn't always about something being wrong. Sometimes it's just about her being human. And at times, the smartest move isn't to decode her silence, but to understand your own impulse to panic when clarity isn't immediate. Number 2, the Stoic way to handle uncertainty. When she goes silent, most guys don't respond, they react. They spiral into overthinking, obsessively check their phones, and replay every last message or moment to try and pinpoint where it went wrong. But this is where a Stoic mindset begins to separate boys from men. Stoicism teaches a timeless principle. You don't control what she does, but you do control how you choose to respond. Epictetus said it best, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When she goes quiet, you're given a choice. You can allow your anxiety to take the wheel, or you can pause, take a breath, and embrace stillness. That doesn't mean indifference, it means presence. It's choosing not to let someone else's silence disrupt your inner stability. Most of us were raised to solve problems, chase outcomes, and fix things. But we were rarely taught how to simply sit with uncertainty. The Stoic doesn't chase after answers that aren't being offered. He understands that her silence isn't inherently negative, it's just an event. It only becomes painful when we assign meaning to it. Instead of jumping to conclusions like, she's done with me, or I must not be enough, the Stoic reframes the situation. This is a chance to come back to myself. It might sound philosophical, but it's profoundly practical. That silence becomes a place for building strength, developing mental clarity, and practicing emotional self-discipline. You stop being a man who needs a response in order to feel whole and become the kind of man who stays centered regardless of who comes and goes. That's not just attractive, it's powerful. Number 3. Sometimes her silence is a test of your strength. One of the most misunderstood truths about modern dating is this: her silence may not be rejection, it might actually be a test. Not in a manipulative or malicious way, but in a very primal, unconscious way. Women often test a man's emotional strength, not through words but through behavior. Going quiet, pulling back, slowing down communication, these can be subtle ways of asking, can you hold your ground? It's not about playing games, it's about instinct. She wants to see whether you can stay centered when she pulls away, whether you lose composure, become needy, or spiral into emotional instability, and how you handle that moment. It tells her everything she needs to know, not just about the dynamic, but about who you are. This doesn't mean women are intentionally trying to mess with you. It means they're naturally drawn to strength and often test for it unconsciously. In evolutionary terms, it's not about cruelty. It's about security. A woman seeks someone who brings her emotional safety. And emotional strength doesn't come from having a six-pack or a fat bank account. It comes from how you handle the moments when you're uncertain. If her silence knocks you off center, it reads as instability. But if you remain grounded and calm, you communicate exactly what she craves: safety. The Stoic man doesn't crumble without constant validation. He provides his own. And that calm self-assurance, it says more than any clever text ever could. Number 4. Chase her silence, and you lose. Here's the cruel irony. The second you start chasing after her silence, you almost guarantee that it will continue. The more you reach out, sending follow-ups, over-apologizing, dropping just checking-in messages, the further away she's likely to drift. Why? Because now the energy has shifted. You're no longer the man who commands respect. You've become the one seeking reassurance. And nothing shuts down attraction faster than desperation. Psychologically, this taps into a concept called reactance. When people feel like their independence is being threatened, even subtly, they tend to push back. So if she's already taking space and you try to close that gap too fast, she doesn't feel comforted. She feels crowded. Even worse, when you chase, you hand her emotional authority. You start waiting for her reply like it's some kind of reward. And that imbalance slowly chips away at the respect and polarity in the dynamic. She might not even be conscious of it, but she feels it. Your energy changes from confident to anxious. And that shift? It's the difference between a man who says, "I'll be here if you're ready," and one who pleads, "Please don't leave." One feels powerful, the other feels forgettable. So if you're tempted to close the distance too soon, don't. Let her feel your absence, not as punishment, but as a gift of space. Space to reflect, to miss, to choose. And in giving her that space, you reclaim your value. Not with a clever message, but with meaningful silence at the right moment. Number 5. What to do instead. So when she goes silent, what should you do instead? You focus on the only thing that's ever really been within your control, yourself. Not in a passive, I'll wait around kind of way, but through active, intentional redirection of your energy back into your own world. This is where so many men mess up. They sit around obsessing, watching her Instagram stories, tracking when she was last online. But that energy, that mental loop, it's not just unattractive, it's exhausting. You need to flip the script. Don't ask, "Why hasn't she texted me?" Instead ask, "Where have I been neglecting myself?" Because most of the time, her silence is actually a mirror, reflecting your own unfinished work, your purpose, your path, your progress. And this isn't some vague self-help mantra, it's a sharp truth. When you redirect your attention inward, you stop being a man waiting for something to happen and become a man who makes things happen. Journal, not to vent, but to process. Hit the gym, not to distract, but to channel your energy. Create, learn, expand. When your life becomes rich, full, and focused, a delayed text doesn't throw you off. Because you're not in limbo anymore, you're in motion. And movement breeds confidence. Women are drawn to that. Not the man who waits, but the man who grows. This isn't a tactic, it's a lifestyle. And one she notices without you needing to say a single word. Number 6. If she comes back, you're still in control. Let's say she texts you. Maybe it's a casual, "Hey, what's up?" or a meme out of nowhere like nothing ever happened. Most guys either light up with relief or bristle with resentment. They either dive right back in or throw subtle guilt to make her feel bad. But if you've used that silence to grow, to center yourself, then her message isn't your lifeline, it's just a data point. You get to choose how to respond. And that's real control. You're not punishing her, and you're not throwing yourself at her feet either. You're simply maintaining the self-respect you've been cultivating in her absence. That means you respond calmly, maturely, and on your terms. You don't need to ignore her, unless, of course, you've decided that your path no longer includes her. But you also don't give away your emotional balance just because she reached out. A simple reply like, "Hey, good to hear from you. Been keeping busy with some new stuff lately," says more than any overthought message. It shows that you've moved forward. It places the ball gently in her court. And most importantly, it communicates a deeper truth. You no longer need her attention to feel grounded. That's not common. That's magnetic. Most people expect their absence to create pain, but when you respond with peace, that's when they really start to notice what they've lost. So the next time she doesn't reach out, don't fall into panic. Don't spiral. See it for what it is, a moment of clarity, not about her, but about you. Because her silence doesn't hold the power unless you give it to her. The real power lies in what you discover in the stillness. And that power, it's not found in clever words or fast replies. It's found in your steadiness, in the way you stand firm when validation isn't given to you. In your ability to keep moving forward, focused on your own mission, grounded in your own identity. That's the Stoic way. Not to numb your emotions, but to master them. To look into the mirror of silence and ask yourself, am I a man who waits to feel worthy, or one who already is? Let her wonder. Let her feel your absence, not because you're playing games, but because you've grown beyond the need to chase scraps of attention. You're not resentful. You're not angry. You're simply centered. And the more time you spend in that calm, grounded place, the more naturally the right people find their way to you. Not because you begged for it, but because you became the kind of man who attracts it. So stay grounded, stay focused, stay stoic. And if this resonated with you, if it reminded you of who you really are deep down, you already know what to do. Keep growing. What are your views on this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I will personally read all of your comments. And if you seriously want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. Stay strong. Until next time.